Good morning. It is a fine Friday morning in the studio, settling in for the day. The previous body of work, it's been 2 or 3 days since I recorded last. The previous body of work was all about the death wall, getting the death wall visual up to something that's a little bit more interesting. We have achieved it. I can hit play. This is the work that this has caused has been wild. So the render of pretty much everything's looking very different at this point. The colors pop a lot more. In the process of putting the death wall in, discovered just so much stuff in the render order and in the way that I was handling my post-processing that was inefficient. There were layers of effects layering over the top of one another when they shouldn't. All kinds of things, mostly to do with the way that I'm managing the camera stack and global volumes. I was trying to have one global volume drive the various effects, and it just meant that on overlay cameras that weren't rendering anything, I had this multiplicative glow issue happening where the bloom was actually being applied to the same materials and the same textures and the same pixels like multiple times, because one camera would do it, then the next camera would do it, then the next camera would do it. So we've broken the system out now so that we have one final overlay camera that renders the whole of screen post-processing effects from one volume, and then on our base camera that's actually rendering our content. So we can see it in this main menu. See in the bottom left-hand corner, the text is all just clean white to the same degree, whereas in the background we clearly have a vignette. If you look at the far left block compared to the far right block in the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that they're, obviously the left one is darker than the right. That's the vignette working, but the vignette is on the blocks, but not on the UI stuff. Seems really straightforward. That wasn't the case in here, and I had to, it's been the last couple of days ironing all that stuff out, but we're ironed out now. So if we go into intermediate, we can see what is the new implementation of the death wall, which is looking really nice. And we're actually running super fast as well, because in this whole process I identified I did have some redundant cameras. So we're back up around like that 160, 170 frames a second now, even in editor, which is fantastic. That gets us a lot closer to where we need to be for the multi-platform support, like the Steam Deck and bits and pieces. Everything's just looking good. I think this is the strongest visual identity that the project's probably had so far. Our bar in the left, for example, if I just dump some bricks around, our bar on the left has a nice little bloomy glow on it now, but nothing's blowing out on the screen. Our next tile indicator is actually on that UI layer now. Turn those stats off. Is on that UI layer now, so that it is rendering on top of everything, so that you can always see it. If we hit restart, we can admire our new menu. So our menu in here now imitates the way that the main menu does, i.e. options on the left, and then the content on the right. We've got this nice modifiers display. So the purpose of that is, if I turn some game modifiers on, which, just having the icons and getting rid of the Unity stock Boolean UI that I had there before has been a big step forward. If I go in here now, I can see which modifiers I have active, as well as obviously having the icons up in the top right underneath our multiplier and our score and whatnot. I can then check so if I don't know the icon off the top of my head, or I'm still learning the system, I can come in here and in a safe environment, paused, read about, grease lightning means that lightning strikes more often, etc., etc. Might have to do a separate video on the modifier system. Haven't really gone into that. So I might do that at some point, so that makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, today's just a bunch of cleanup. I've spent a couple of days just pulling out visual wires and reorganizing all of our visual post-processing. So what that's ended up as is these 2 different volumes instead of just the one, where I've got all of my bulk post-processing stuff stacked on this volume, and then just my vignettes separated out so that I can do, like I mentioned in the main menu, I can do the vignette, which is on at the moment, obviously, those blocks on the right, nice and shadowed out. and then they come into view as we, come into view as we move across. But then not applying that vignette to any of the UI. So obviously you can see all of that UI on the surface layer, still looking nice and bright and white, but not blown out. You can still read everything. Maybe the score text in the top right hand corner is still just a little bit too bright, but honestly, that's a niggly thing at this point. So today we'll be tidying all that up. It's all happened in a bit of a flurry, so there's a lot of admin to do to make sure that I'm continuing to document how I did things and continue to learn from what I'm doing. Onward.